birria, goat stew, the real thing.
Did you say goat?
Yeah, this will change your life.
Okay, once again, a scene proving that this is totally legit. Birria tacos will change your life, especially the goat ones. Freaking amazing. You guys are eating up these Lincoln Lawyer reviews, and frankly, so am I. So let's do episode 3.
Apologize, but I haven't been able to see a police report yet.
Ramon,
Gracias, Ramon.
Ms. Wagstaff, you are charged.
Okay, so fun fact right off the bat. Court probably doesn't have a copy of the police report. The prosecutor does, but they went up there to the clerk. The bailiff brought out the copy and then hands it to the attorney, Mr. Lincoln Lawyer here, gives him a copy of the police report. Court doesn't want anything to do with the police report unless it's actually going to trial. They don't want to know the facts. They don't want to talk about any of the facts. They don't want to see any of the evidence. All they want to know is, in this setting, how do you plead? And we're getting there.
How do you wish to plead?
The human body is beautiful, Your Honor.
Undoubtedly. Would that be guilty?
Your Honor, may I have a moment to confer with my client, please?
Would it matter if I said no?
Thank you so much for coming.
No, it probably wouldn't matter if she says no. Here's why. In this setting, it's really dramatic for TV. How do you plead, right? But doesn't happen anymore in common court, at least not here in Arizona. I don't practice in the other 49 states, but here in Arizona, at an arraignment, which is what this is, they tell you what the charges are. They ask you if you need an attorney or if you've already hired one of your own, and then they tell you, we are entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf. They don't want you to plea at the hearing, okay? Or excuse me, at the arraignment. They don't want you to plea. They just want to enter a plea of not guilty, introduce you to your attorney so that he or she can start negotiating with the state. Begin the process. That's what the arraignment is about. And the very best way to do that is to just say a plea of not guilty is entered on your behalf.
But the offense is clearly alleged. Sunbathing topless on a public beach, despite repeated past warnings.
Yeah, but according to the police report, the officer arrived and found Ms. Wagstaff in the water up to her neck, and there's no record of any complaint prior to that moment.
So?
So, by ordering her out of the water, the officer created the very offense with which my client is charged.
That's a really fun procedural issue. One that you're going to have to write up in a motion for dismissal that's probably going to be about 12 pages long and cite 100 different cases. Maybe not 100, but a lot. They're not just going to say, hey, there's an issue with the case, and so I want it dismissed in open court, and it's just going to go away. Even a lower offense like this, they're going to want to see a motion for dismissal that's supported by good law. Not just going to happen like this in 10 seconds or less.
Do you have a witness who could testify that they were offended by Miss Wagstaff before the officer ordered her out of the water?
Not at the moment, Your Honor.
Do you know what this is? It's my docket for today. Miss Wagstaff, keep your damn top on from now on. Charge dismissed.
And a judge dismissing a case because she really doesn't like the case? Yeah, probably not. They're just going to go, okay, well, she can plead today. She can plead not guilty, which is what they're going to do anyway. She can plead not guilty. You can put in a motion to dismiss. And in the meantime, if the prosecutor can actually come up with a witness, then they're going to build their case.
It seems I have you back in my courtroom again this afternoon. What an unexpected treat.
For which case is this, Your Honor?
People versus Eli Wims. It's one of Mr. Vincent's cases. I am assuming you will handle this as well?
My goodness, what an unexpected treat to have 2 cases in the same courtroom in the same day. I mean, I've had 9 before, that's my record. So I don't think this is actually going to catch a judge off guard or even draw a comment of any kind. But, I mean, maybe out in LA, maybe they don't stack them up as well as we do, but he's a private attorney, so, you know, more than 1 or 2, yeah, for sure. But I used to take appointed cases, sort of overflow work from the public defender. And so, yeah, one day I actually had 9 cases. They were split between 2 courtrooms that were right next door to each other. So it might have been like 4 and 5. But still, having 2 cases in one courtroom, definitely not out of the usual.
They kept them separate from the rest of us.
They?
The people who watch over them. People who work for Mr. Soto.
And are these workers treated the same as the rest of you?
No. They were scared. If they talked to us in English or Tagalog, someone would tell them not to. At lunch, they ate the scraps the patients left on their plates.
Mr. Laresca, When you get your paycheck on payday, have you ever seen any of these workers get paid?
No. Never.
Now, I've heard from other people that this was supposed to be one of the most accurate depictions of law in Hollywood. This scene is probably one of the reasons why they say that. That line of questioning right there was excellent. That's something you might hear in a courtroom. She lays a foundation and then starts building on that foundation. And then eventually you get to the end for this kind of bomb that she wants to drop, right? Those employees aren't even getting paid. They're eating scraps off of people's tables. There's something wrong going on there, right? And she does it without testifying, which is one of the big Hollywood mistakes. They always turn to the jury. They'll ask the witness a question, and then they'll turn to the jury and explain, see, this is why I asked that question, and this is why it should be important to you. That had never happened. You're not allowed to testify. You have to make the witness testify. She does an excellent job of that right here. Another thing that I didn't pick up the first time I watched this is a grand jury proceeding. So you might have wondered, well, what about cross-examination? There is no cross-examination. The prosecutor, the witness, the grand jury. She's going for a finding of probable cause just to charge this person. Not the person on the stand, but whoever it is that they're talking about. Defense attorneys aren't even in the courtroom. So pretty shocking for most people to think, well, how do I get defended in that scenario? You usually don't. The prosecutor, at least here in Arizona, there was a Supreme Court case just a couple years ago where our Supreme Court said that if the prosecutor is aware of exculpatory evidence that would suggest the defendant didn't do it, they do have to present that to the grand jury. But the defense attorney, yep, not in the room.
Eli? Eli. My name is Mickey Haller. I'm your lawyer. Do you understand? Eli? Can you hear me? Great. Guard.
And yet again, another scene that makes this, what people are calling one of the most realistic courtroom dramas. So that non-responsive defendant right there, literally this morning, the very morning that we are filming this video, I was in a courtroom. It wasn't one of my cases, but the couple of cases that were called before me, one of the defense attorneys said, yeah, my client's not here because he's in jail and we're being informed that he is completely non-responsive. He won't speak, he won't get up, he won't talk. And then I watched this episode this day. Almost exactly like what I just heard described in reality this morning in court.
Which is exactly where I was headed with the public defender before Jerry swooped in and took the case.
Wait, Williams had a public defender? How did Jerry end up with a case?
Beats me. I figured he needed the pro bono hours.
And then he sent...
Okay, it's an attempted murder case, and she's guessing, I guess he needed the pro bono hours. Okay, I have 2 licenses, Arizona and New Mexico. Arizona does not require me to take pro bono or to have pro bono hours. I do some pro bono work, though. New Mexico suggests that we get 50 pro bono hours. Do you have any idea how long an attempted murder case is going to take? Probably hundreds of hours. Unless they just plea it out super quick. But this one sounds like it's going to trial, so probably not going to happen. At any rate, not even every state requires pro bono. I don't know if California does or not, but I can guarantee that's not the reason that most attorneys are going to take an attempted murder case. But that's probably where they're going with this.
Birria, goat stew, the real thing.
Did you say goat?
Yeah, this will change your life.
Okay, once again, a scene proving that this is totally legit. Birria tacos will change your life, especially the goat ones. Freaking amazing.
But Jerry was like any of us. You know, he had some big cases that paid the rent. He had some little ones that, well, only he knows why he took them. But at the end of the day, he just wanted to leave his clients better off than how he found them. And that's all any of us can do, right?
I really like this scene. I really like it because, look, I know we live in a world where we've got attorneys with reputations that are just garbage, just in the toilet, okay? There are a whole lot of people. I post these videos and people will respond. You go check the comments. There's a couple of people that responded, oh, every attorney I've ever known is garbage. They're all narcissists. They don't even know me. I've never met these people, but they just want to chime in just to let me know that they really don't like attorneys. When I heard this, he's saying all they want to do is just leave their clients better than they found them. That's what I want. And that is what a lot of attorneys want. I'm not even going to say most, because I do know, look, there's a lot of attorneys that help us earn that reputation. But I also know a whole lot of attorneys that are just doing their best to leave their clients better off than they found them.
McPherce. Huh. I wonder what she ever saw in you.
Yeah, well, that makes two of us.
So, how's your boy doing? Jesus Menendez out in Calipatria. Say hi to him for me.
So I got to tell you, okay, you find out earlier in the episode that this guy's a prosecutor that works with Mr. Lincoln Lawyer's ex girlfriend, I think. Interesting that they're making him just an absolute douchebag, right? They want him to be an antagonist. Yeah, I get that. I'm going to tell you right now, that is not the relationship that I have with most of the prosecutors I work with. We might razz each other a little bit, or maybe we just have a 100% professional relationship, but I've never once had a prosecutor come up to me and just straightforward disrespect me. Closest that it's ever come, one of my first days on the job in the courtroom, I'm covering for this other attorney that really didn't teach me anything, but just wanted me to go cover his calendar for the day. I walked in and I walked up to the prosecutor and just asked him a simple question about the case, and he just scoffed. Ugh, I have better things to do than to be helping some defense attorney with their case. And I'm like, that's not even my case. I'm just trying to get it pled out like the guy asked me to. Anyway, so, and it was a pretty freaking simple question. I think I was asking him about a date or something like that. Anyway, that's the closest it's ever come. And to be honest, it was information that I should have had, but just that my boss at the time hadn't prepared me with. At any rate, that's not generally how it works in the courtroom. I'm sure somewhere out there there's some defense attorneys that just hate some prosecutors and vice versa, but it's not what I've run into for the most part.
He said he had something, but he didn't want to tell me until he was sure he had it locked down. We were supposed to discuss it this week, but I guess that's not going to happen now.
Why'd you wait 5 minutes to call 911?
Because I was in shock.
Well, then you should have hung up and called the lawyer.
Why? So they could tell me to keep my mouth shut? Plead the fifth? That's what guilty people do.
Okay, two things there. Why'd you wait 5 minutes to call 911? Now, to the average viewer, you might be watching that going, 5 minutes isn't that long, until you're put on a jury and the prosecutor is telling you, what the heck could he have been doing for 5 minutes? That's a long time then, right? I'm going to tell you that I have worked cases that were basically a race to call 911. And because the alleged victim called 911 before my client, it made them look extremely bad. Even though I will tell you, I believe my client was totally in the right, acted as I would have in the same situation, but it was going to be a lot harder to prove that to a jury because they didn't call 911 before the victim. And the victim got in a police report that made it look like he was the victim. That's what they ended up with. Okay, the other thing here is that there's good people that always think, I don't need an attorney. I don't need to plead the fifth. That's what guilty people do. Just like what this guy said, right? That's what guilty people do. It's what smart people do. Because you don't know what you're going to say that could incriminate you. You don't know what the case is. There's a case that I saw not very long ago that the police got probable cause because they pulled a guy over. He was driving a vehicle that matched the description of a vehicle that had been used in a robbery or something like that. And they asked him, where are you coming from? And he gave an answer like, well, Taco Bell. And that whatever the answer was where the robbery had occurred. And so they said, well, probable cause, and got arrested. Now, luckily, he got the case dismissed. But at the same time, just answering a simple question like, where are you coming from, is actually what got him arrested. Take the fifth. You don't have to answer those questions. It's not liar, liar. You don't even have to answer at all, let alone, don't lie to them, but don't answer. Just take the fifth, remain silent, say, I don't want to answer any questions until I have my attorney present.
and Golan's will run circles around you. And once your credibility is shot, it won't matter what you tell the jury.
There's two juries, Mickey, the one in the courtroom and the Twitter mob outside.
I told you they need to see that I'm innocent, or our acquisition turns into a fire sale.
That's super true. There's two juries, the one in the courtroom and the Twitter mob outside. The court of public opinion is freaking brutal. And as soon as we hear somebody got accused of X, Y, and Z, people start going, well, they're guilty. We're not sitting there in the courtroom. We're not looking at the evidence. We hear from the news, the prosecution presented evidence regarding, and we don't even get to see what the evidence was. We just get told what it's regarding, and we think, oh yeah, well that guy must be super guilty, right? Happens all the time, especially with your more famous cases. The more it's on the news, the more guilty we know they are. And then when they're found not guilty, we say, oh, they got away with it. How the heck do we know that? We're not in the courtroom. We didn't see the evidence, but we're in the court of public opinion. So that's what we get to do, right?
Now, when I asked you to walk me through your story, what happened on that day, that was your direct examination, and you passed with flying colors. You said the right things. You showed emotion at the right time. I believed every word, and so would a jury. But just now, Trevor, that was your cross. That's how easily that fucker Golan's will rip you to pieces.
So super true. Almost every defendant thinks the right answer, go sit on the stand and tell my side of the story so that they hear it. And they're not counting on cross-examination. They're not counting on the prosecutor being able to get under their skin and make them look bad. And that's the prosecutor's job in that situation. They're representing the state. They're representing the community. They're supposed to be basically protecting us, similar to like what the police do, right? Keep the bad guys away. That's their job. And when you put somebody in front of them that they legitimately think is guilty, they're going to do everything they can to make that person look guilty, including just making you freak out on the stand. An innocent person testifying is not always the right answer, especially if they're just not going to look good.
But sometimes you move the pieces around, and none of it adds up. That's when you gotta stop and take a step back.
Because the answer might be right in front of your face.
Okay, this silent scene right here, I actually really connected with. Not because I've ever looked at two cases and gone, oh, holy crap, these are connected. No, never done that. But I have stopped working on a case because I've just gone, I don't freaking know. And it's not coming to mind, and I'm not figuring it out right now. And gone to another case, gone to some simple, gone to a DUI or something like that and started looking at it. And then all of a sudden it hits you and you remember, or you think of, what's the way to crack that other one wide open? What is the weak spot? How do you actually put a little wrinkle in the prosecutor's plan? Maybe it's only to negotiate a better deal, or maybe it's to go, you know what? I think we can win at trial that way. But yeah, sometimes it's just the way it works. It's especially how my brain works. I'm thinking through things and I've just got to stop thinking about that for a little while so that it can just come in. So yeah, good Zane.
Holler?
The guy from the photo you showed me, I think he was just here at the office.
What?
I scared him off with a gun, I think.
Never mind
that. Just get over here, will you?
God damn it! I'll be there in 10 minutes. Try not to shoot.
Okay, seriously. If you don't handle guns, which earlier in the episode you find out he really doesn't handle guns very often, then don't handle them in an emergency situation, okay? That's not just free legal advice. That's free safety advice. Yeah, he almost shot himself in the foot right here. There's some reality for you, because that's what happens when you're under stress and you pick up a gun for the first time in 10 years or whatever the heck it's been, or maybe first time ever. So don't do that. Also, by the way, so there's some reality on the flip side of this. Never had to shoot anybody from my office before, so that might not be the most realistic thing, but dang, good way to end this episode. So that's Lincoln Lawyer, episode 3. See you again soon for episode 4.